Hey guys, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter card game review. Today's game of the tip-off is called Evolve Light of the Deep. In Evolve Light of the Deep, you start off as a small little organism in the bottom of the ocean, and you are trying to evolve as best you can. You're going to need to do that by taking evolution cards and increasing your size of your organism and increasing them to different numbers, from 1 all the way to 6. If you can get to 6 first, you're going to be the winner, but there's also adaptation cards. These cards are used to hinder or help you, hinder or your opponent or help you, and in which case you're going to be doing that. It kind of reminds me of the game Flow that was usually made on the computer that you can see over here, where you start off as a small organism in the sea and you're eating all these other organisms, getting bigger and bigger and stronger, and as you're doing that, you're trying to kind of increase yourself while deteriorating your opponents to make sure you're the most strongest organism. And it's a game of evolution that takes place over a number of 6 stages. Very similar in gameplay. This one just the computer version. It's a cool little game. They don't share any, they're not like related in any way, but they do feel very similar. And if you like this game, maybe you like that one as well. All right, well, let me go and share the contents of the game. Okay, so here are the contents for Evolution Light of the Deep, in which you're going to be getting your own unique little organism that starts off at level 1, as well as you're going to have organism cards, evolution cards, and adaptation cards. These guys are the organisms that you'll be evolving into. These evolution cards allow you to evolve into these, and then the adaptations are basically action cards you're going to take to either help you or hinder your opponents. On your turn, you're going to get 6 actions. You're going to pick one of the players to start, and on your turn, you can either choose to draw a card, or you can simply play a card or play an action card. This is basically all the things you're going to begin the game. All right, let me tell you how to play it. So like I said before, you're going to be taking 6 actions on your turn. You're going to select a player at random, and they're going to start with just a single card in front of them. And they're going to be able to do one of 3 things, right? Up to 6 times. First is you can draw a card. Second is you can play a card. And a third is you can go ahead and discard a card. When you're playing a card, you can play it as an action or a card that's going to help you evolve or grow your organism in some way. If you're drawing cards, remember the first card you draw in your turn is always going to be an adaptation card. After that, you can draw any number of cards that you want. If you ever get to 6 cards after that, in order to draw any more cards, you're going to need to discard, and that'll cost you an action. But you have 6 on your turn, so you can do anything you want. You could draw up to 5, and then you can discard 1 if you want, or you could draw 3, play 2, and discard 1, any combination in that order. After you've done all your 6 actions, you're going to pass turn to your next opponent. Always remember too that some of these adaptation cards are going to allow you to have more benefits. Sometimes they're going to hinder your opponents by reducing their size. Other times they are going to actually increase the number of actions you're going to have on your turn, as well as skipping other opponents' turns as well. And like I said before, you're going to get to 6 and you're going to win. Let me show you a couple of turns of play. Okay, so I've set the game up for a 3-player game. You could include a 4th player by doing this, or remove it to a 2-player by doing that. Nevertheless, we'll do 3, not a big deal. We're going to start with this player over here. Now, no cards start in your hand, but you get that 6 actions. So we'll move these aside, and you can just see how this player works. The first thing he wants to do is draw a card, and he has to take an adaptation. We'll go ahead and show you what that is. This one says +4 moves. He's got 5 moves left because he just drew a card from 6 down to 5. But if he chooses to play this card, he goes down to 4, and then he adds 4, going to 8. This card's then used. So now he's at 8 actions on his turn. If he draws 1 here from his evolution, 1, which has a 1 to 2 card, which is what he needs. So 2, perfect. Now he can go ahead and play this card here, which is 3, means he can move his 1 to 2, and then 3, and then we can keep going, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now he's taken all of his actions and he's got cards in his hand, which is really good. Cards like these mean that he can go ahead and use them as a 2 or a 3. It's up to him how he wants to do that. Other cards are going to have a simple number on them. So this is a 4, and this one over here is a 3. But they're also going to have abilities on them at some point. Resilient over here means that they cannot be destroyed in any way. They can't be hurt, which is good. And this one over here is actually going to give you +3 moves on the turn that you play this card. Now, if he still had more actions, he could simply play this card right here, which means he can move a 2 to a 3 or a 5 to a 6. Then this is a 2, so a 2 to a 3, and then he can go ahead and simply play this next. But he has no more actions, so he's going to save these cards for a later turn. Remember, you can only have 6 cards in hand, and he has 5. The next player is going to go. He's going to then draw his first card, which has to always be this one right here, which is a regrowth card. It's a card that lets you discard this card and draw up to the same amount of cards you have in your hand by discarding your hand. So then 2 and 3, 4, 5, perfect. And then he's going to play this one, which is 6. And he is done. Remember, on his next turn, he can play this card here. But he goes from 1 to 2, so he's going to have evolution there. Then the next player is going to go ahead and take their turn, and he's going to start again. What's this? +4 moves. That's a solid one again. So it goes to 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he's got too many cards, actually. So before he does this, he'll have to discard one. 7, and then 8. Now he's done. Now on his next turn he can play this one here, but he doesn't have a 2 in his hand. He's got a 6, a 4, and a 4. Then we go back to this guy's turn here. He's got his cards in hand. Remember, he can still draw at least one more, but he has to always start by drawing this one here, Regrowth. So if he doesn't like any of these cards, he can go ahead and play this card, discard all these cards, and draw up equal to that amount for just one singular action. Luckily, he doesn't need to do that. That was one action right there. Then he wants to go 2 to 3, so that's 2 and 3. Does he have a... Nope. Okay, it's the 3. And then we'll go 4. Perfect. 5. Oh, no, he can't do that. He needs to go from 3 to 4. 5 and 6, and he's done. So he's already getting on his way. On his next turn, he will play this one, which will also give him those 3 moves. Solid. And you're going to keep doing that. And as you continue throughout the game, you're going to be increasing your size until you get to that mystical level of 6. And there's a bunch of different cards in here that have different numbers in here. 3. Here's a 6 right here. That's what you need to win. But not only that, there are also wild cards in here that have a simple circle on them that don't show you anything. This can be a singular number of any type, as well as all different types of action cards. That's the idea of play. You're going to go throughout the turns, taking your 6 actions, progressing until somebody hits that coveted 6th position. So now a couple caveats as well as explaining this little action deck here, the adaptation aspect. As you're playing the game, you're going to be drawing these cards here, and you can choose any order to draw cards as long as you draw one of these adaptations first. But these have a bunch of different actions you can take. Now, none of them are going to progress you throughout the game, so drawing a bunch of them might help you screw over your opponents, but won't help you increase your size, which in turn will not help you win the game. Here are a couple of them. This one says go from 4 to 3, so you can choose a player that is at 4 to go to 3, provided they're not resilient. This is plus 3 moves, and there's other ones that give you certain amounts of moves. You can play this card on a player. It says skip a turn, and you can just choose anybody to skip their next turn. -1 evolution, but with any single one of these cards that has these little spirals at the top here, that means it affects everybody, including yourself, so you'd all go down 1. You can steal a card from your opponent, as well as making any organism go down a singular space, so from 5 to 4 or 4 to 3. And there's quite a few of these different types of cards in the deck. That being said, mainly in these 2 decks here, you're going to be getting the evolutions, which will go from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, that kind of thing. And some of them have doubles and whatnot. And finally, these guys over here, they have wilds in them. They have basic numbers, and then they have the double symbols, which can be used for either number. They don't get used for both. If it's a 3-4, you have to choose 3 or 4. Not only that, there's also the wild, and some of them on here actually include resilience, right? So if you have a 3, usually the 3s are the ones that are resilient, kind of like a save spot. So that means they can't be killed. This is actually a 5 that's resilient, so it cannot be moved down to a 4 with resilience on it, which is really unique. Anyway, that's the basic aspect of the game. Get to 6, win. Let me tell you what I think about it. Alright, so Evolve, Light of the Deep by Lionfish Games. 2 to 4 players, right? The game really works, really enjoy it. But in 2 players, the first thing I gotta say is losing a turn is super irritating. I don't like that aspect. Usually in a 2-player game, I will take that card out because it's more of a win more, and it does have that aspect of being a catch-up card, provided you draw it and you're the one not being able to advance. That can help. However, in most cases, you're just going to lose a turn and the person is going to just skyrocket, and that kind of irritates me. But in a 3- and 4-player game, it works very well as a catch-up mechanic and doesn't affect the game in a negative light. Most of the time, it's very beneficial, and I like that card. They could, however, change it to, instead of losing a turn, maybe choose a player to lose 3 actions on the next turn, or 4 actions, or whatever. So you still get to play your turn, because that's always very enjoyable to at least do something on your turn, right? But that's maybe just a thing for me specifically. It's a short, quick little game. It works very easily. The flow is very simple. You're going to be drawing cards based on the things you need, and some of them are going to be beneficial, some of them won't. You have to discard cards when you have a hand size of 6 and in order to get new cards. And always having to draw these adaptation cards is really cool because they have a lot of different abilities, and it kind of pushes players to actually use those abilities as opposed to just going through the game trying to build it up as fast as possible when they see a card. Ooh, maybe, you know, skip a turn in a 3 or 4 player game, right? Maybe I want this player who's at level 5 already to not advance as fast because I'm only level 2 or 3. That kind of works really well. The style of the game is very nice. I do feel like a little organism in the ocean. I like the art on this game. It's very beautiful. I love the feeling of it because it just reminds me of the game Flow. And maybe it's just a nostalgia thing for me, but I really enjoyed that aspect, thinking back on those games where I'm a little organism, I'm slowly eating everything else, trying to grow and to become this really big, massive entity that can contain itself in a way that is able to increase into something like perhaps me even, right? Nevertheless, though, it's a fun game. It has a little bit of a take that action as well as you're trying to complete, it's not really a set collection, but you're trying to complete this organism going up and down and getting to that level 6. Very fun little game. Definitely, again, not for strategic gamers, like seriously deep strategy or war gamers, that kind of thing. It has that aspect as well as choosing your actions where to draw. There is strategy in the game, obviously, and there is luck because you're going to be drawing these cards. One of the games we last played, I was deep in high water. I thought I wasn't going to win. Player had 8 or 9 actions to take, and as they were doing so, they never drew that one card they needed, and on the next turn, I drew it and I won, which was really fun. And I like that aspect of the game where even when you think you're going to lose, bam, you actually come back and you can win the game. Like I said before, in a 3 to 4 player game, I think is the solid aspect of this game. If you're playing 2 players, not a big deal. Just take out that skip a turn action card and you're going to really enjoy it, or perhaps changing it to something like losing a certain amount of actions. Overall, though, the game Evolve is very solid, really enjoyable, and I plan on playing it many more times in the future, as well as just a nice little gateway game to teach players that will take that aspect. It's not extremely violent towards players, not really harsh, but on the other end, it's not a very nice game either, so it has that, it's right there in the middle for me. Otherwise, though, go ahead and check it out if you're interested. Evolve, Light of the Deep. Alright guys, thanks for watching another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter video review. If you like this video, go check out the rest of the videos here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment, as well as checking out Evolve, currently on Kickstarter, a really cool, unique organism game. We're trying to build it up as much as possible. Also, go ahead and check out our website, unfilteredgamer.com. Tons of blog posts, Kickstarter lists, comments, and all that good stuff. Blog posts. You know what to do. Look them up if you're interested, as well as our big Kickstarter list that shows you all the games that are currently up on Kickstarter right now. Also, you can go ahead and check out our affiliate websites, everythingboardgames.com, The Giveaway Geek, and a personal friend of mine, The Cardboard Stacker. 3 great places to go to check out some really cool content. Alright guys, that's all I got for this one, and once again, I look forward to seeing you next time.